Amendment 3, the Quartering Act. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today we'll be discussing the Third Amendment. The Third Amendment is intended to protect citizens' rights to the ownership and use of their property without intrusion by the government. The drafters of the Constitution, like many other colonists, were resentful of laws in place before the Revolutionary War that allowed British soldiers to take over private homes for their own use. Thus, the amendment bars the government from forcing individuals to provide lodging to soldiers in their homes except during war when the interest of national security may override an individual's right of private property. Let us take a look at what the framers of the Constitution said for Amendment 3. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So, what does this mean and how did we get here? Well, during the French and Indian War, in which the Western lands as well as the Canadian territories were at stake, the British found themselves devoid of forts necessary to house the thousands of soldiers that came to the Americas to fight this global conflict. British soldiers forcibly took over private homes, even though at this time an agreement had existed that would compensate homeowners for their losses. These homeowners believed that it was a violation of the English Bill of Rights, which was signed in 1689. But when the war ended, British troops remained in America, which caused anger and excitement by the colonists. And in an effort to pay for all the British Army and Navy needs and be able to provide protection, Great Britain passed the Quartering Act of 1765, which stated that British soldiers would be housed in inns, taverns, livery stables, and wine houses at the cost of the colonies. This is an example of taxation without representation, for the colonists did not have a say in what they were paying for at this time. It required that colonies pay to feed, provide drink, give transportation, and fuel needs, which include wood, hay, and oils, in an effort to sustain the British troops. Of course, that meant that these colonists would be paying for these through taxes that were integrated into different goods that they had to buy on a daily basis. After years of disgruntled colonists and bickering of all the colonies, of which Pennsylvania seemed not to fight the system, the Quartering Act of 1774 now allowed for its soldiers to be housed in abandoned and or unoccupied buildings. Colonies would still pay for all other necessities. For those of you that watched the movie Turn, which was on Netflix, there has been some argument that private homes were occupied against their will, colonists' will, prior to and during the American Revolution. But if you were considered a traitor or an enemy, your house would have been considered fair game. We can now see why the framers thought it was necessary and worth protecting with this amendment, especially when it involves private property and rights of the people. Yet it has only ever been challenged once, and that case was heard by the Second District Court of Appeals. In the case of Ingblom versus Carey, the challenge was when the state guard was called out to assist at a prison strike. The correctional guards who were striking were removed from their rental spaces and displaced by the military, who needed places to stay. The appeals court ruled, and not the Supreme Court, just the appeals court, that a state guard, such as Pennsylvania National Guard, is also prohibited from violating the Third Amendment. And that, folks, is the most underused, never challenged amendment. And at this time, we're done for the day. I want you to begin working on Amendment 1 in your booklets. Have a great day, Mount Pleasant.